kids, welcome back to another 5-minute Bible story. Today we are going to finish with the last 3 fruits of the Spirit. On week 1 we talked about love, joy, and peace, and why those are some very important fruits of the Spirit that we have from Jesus, and the only way we can actually get those is if we are in a right relationship with Jesus. Last week we talked about patience, kindness, and goodness, and how those things are important on how we interact with others, and how sometimes it's not easy to have those fruits of the Spirit towards other people, especially when they're not nice to us. Today we're going to finish up with our last 3, and we will see what those are in just a moment when we talk about our Bible story. So today's Bible verse, we're going to talk about a time that Jesus was teaching. I know he teaches quite a bit. Actually, in the 3 years of his ministry, he spends most of that time traveling from town to town, teaching something like parables, teaching about things that are important for our daily lives, and just teaching the people how they should live their lives. In today's particular story, he actually says in Matthew 7, verse 15, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves." So you might have heard the saying before, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, what does that mean exactly? So whenever you hear something about a wolf in sheep's clothing, that usually has to do with someone who is trying to trick you, who's trying to hurt you, or trying to get something for themselves by behaving some way that you wouldn't expect. So if you saw a wolf with just as a wolf, you would know, oh, that's a wolf. He's hungry. He wants to eat meat. He's scary, you know. But the point of this metaphor is that a wolf in sheep's clothing might come to you pretending to be something else, like a sheep who you wouldn't be scared of. A sheep. Sheep are herbivores. They eat grass. They don't hurt people. Like they are pretty docile creatures. They're very kind and pretty low energy. So they are very nice creatures. So you wouldn't be afraid of a sheep. But a wolf you would be afraid of. So that's why these people who are actually wolves pretend to be sheep, so that they can trick you into thinking that they are not going to hurt you, but then they do hurt you. So that's why Jesus is teaching about these false teachers. False teachers are someone who's going to try to teach you to do something that's wrong and disguise it as something that is good. And that's actually something that's mentioned quite a few times in the New Testament. Paul, Peter, Jesus, they all talk about false teachers and how you need to beware of them and not let them trick you. So you might be asking yourself, Mr. Jeremy, how do you know when a wolf is in sheep's clothing, or whenever there's a false teacher trying to teach me bad things? So Jesus actually has an answer for this. In Matthew 5:17, he says, "Every good tree bears good fruit, and every bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit." So remember those trees that I was talking about? Let's put them up right now so that we have our good tree and we have our bad tree. Sometimes the bad tree looks like the good tree, just like this metaphor of a wolf in sheep's clothing. But this bad tree can only bear bad fruit. So if we know that a bad tree can only bear bad fruit, it helps us to see a bad tree not like this, but like this. So now it's easier to see that this is a good tree and then this is a bad tree by the fruit. That's why Jesus finishes in Matthew 5:20. "By their fruit they will be known." So that's how we can tell if a person is not who they say they are. You can look at their character, which is all the things that they do, not the things that they say, but the way they behave. If a person is saying good things like, "Oh, I do this and I do that, I like to help an old woman cross the street, I give all my money to the poor," things like that, but then you look at them and you find out that they don't actually do those things and that they're actually mean people, then they are a bad person and that they are bearing bad fruit. But if you are a good person, that means that you have all 9 fruits of the Spirit. So what were those last 3 fruits of the Spirit? Let's find out. So our 7th fruit of the Spirit is faithfulness. So we have talked about faith in the past, just a couple of lessons ago, not too long from now. And we learned that faith is trusting that God is going to do what he says he's going to do. Faithfulness is so close to that. But it's not just about trust. It's about doing what you say you're going to do. So if you say you're going to take out the trash for your parents and you don't, that's not faithfulness. You're not keeping your word. But if you do what you said you were going to do, then you are being faithful and you are showing that people can trust in you. Luke 16:10 says, "Those who are faithful in a little are also faithful in very much. And those who are dishonest with a little are dishonest with much." That means if you know you can trust someone with a bunch of little tasks, then you can trust them with big things because they have gained your trust and you know that they can get the little things done. So giving them bigger tasks is not something that you have to worry about. But if you keep being disappointed by someone and they keep saying they're going to do these little things and they don't, you probably don't trust them to do bigger tasks. So that is what faithfulness is all about. The next fruit, our eighth fruit, is gentleness. So what is gentleness? Well, I can show you what the opposite of gentleness is. There is a character in the Marvel Universe who is the opposite of gentleness. It is the Incredible Hulk. He gets angry and turns into a giant rage monster that just destroys everything. He's super, super strong and powerful, so he can tear apart cities if he wanted, but it's the opposite of gentleness. He lets his anger consume him and turn him into this monster. So a person with gentleness is the opposite of that. It doesn't mean that they don't get angry or they don't have feelings of frustration. It just means that they know how to control those impulses and use it for good. They know how to speak to someone kindly and calmly and not lose their temper. So gentleness is basically just controlling your emotions and not letting it get the best of you. Our ninth and final fruit is probably one of the hardest. It is self-control. I know for Mr. Jeremy personally, I have hard times with self-control, especially with things like Netflix and having my favorite snacks. Like on Netflix, I can sit and binge watch a show for probably several hours in a row without getting tired, but that's not good self-control. I should be doing things that are more productive. It's fun, yes, but it's not always productive. Same thing with food. Sometimes I don't have self-control because something tastes so good, I just want more and more and more. But you know what? That's not going to help me keep my physique. It's going to make me get fat, and I don't want to get fat. So self-control is merely just being able to say no to things that are not going to benefit you. Say no to bad things and only enjoy good things in littler capacity. Not go crazy and do all the good stuff all at once, but take it in smaller doses because a lot of the good stuff is still bad for you. So those are all of our 9 fruits of the Spirit. So that brings us to this week's challenge. This week's challenge is great timing because we just finished up our fruits of the Spirit. So our third challenge is to learn all 9 fruits of the Spirit. I know last week we did a memory one. This one is also a memory one. You're going to memorize all 9 fruits of the Spirit, and I want you to go tell someone all 9 fruits of the Spirit. And once you are able to you don't have to get them in the right order. I just want to make sure you get all 9 of them. Maybe tell a little bit about each fruit too. Don't just say what they are, but say what it is that makes that fruit important. So after you do that, have your parent, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma comment down below on this video and let me know that you finished that, and then that'll be your check mark for this week's challenge. So that brings us to the end of this week 5-Minute Bible Story. So I will see you next week, kids. Bye.